Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today, Kelly and my folks and I are up at our off-grid cabin here in the mountains of West Virginia. Kelly, you can walk through the shot, it's fine. Don't just stand there on the edge. You have to now that I've said your name. So, the thing we're running into with the cabin is this dilemma of being off-grid, and of course wanting the creature comforts that you want, the balance of rustic and modern that makes the hanging out up here enjoyable. Especially when you have more people up here, you need to be accommodating when it comes to water, when it comes to being able to keep food cold, when it comes to just those type of basic comforts. So I want to share with you some of the dilemmas that we're running into and really looking for your guys' feedback on this to give us some suggestions as we either ramp up in off-grid or ramp up in modern on-grid conveniences. So come along, let me show you what I'm talking about. So it'll be 2 years this fall since we built the cabin, and of course we've featured this on many videos. I can link to a playlist here if you can check it out if you want to. But we knew when we bought this property 5 years ago that it didn't have any type of electrical drop. Mom and Dad, when they bring their RV up, they either use their own board batteries or Dad has a Honda inverter generator. But what's interesting is power is actually right through here. It comes right through the valley. We've talked to the power company about what it would take to get a drop, and power company and the bureaucracy. So we're still about a year. We've been a year talking to them about it. And there's just a whole bunch of things with the neighbor's farm as far as an easement goes and all that type of junk. So we keep toying back and forth with, do we just stay off grid or do we get grid tied? I think right now we're pursuing both. So in the meantime, I think I've featured, I built this, just scabbed this together one day. I was up here in the wintertime. It's just a rack to hold my 600 watt solar panel. And in the wintertime, that's perfect position because this is south facing. So the sun just comes through here, leaves are off the trees. That's the perfect angle. During the summer months, however, the sun's directly overhead, everything's big and green and leafy, and it gives us limited solar access. I'd have to clear out a lot of the trees to get more solar. You can see right now, I've got my 600 watt panel laying here, and it's hardwired to the cabin. And I'll show you that setup in a second. But I have to keep moving it to get it into position. What I need to do is make a dolly that I can put the rack on and move it around, or bite the bullet and find something permanent. And this is south facing, so ideally if these trees were gone, having something right there on a mast that could rotate would be ideal, or on top of the shed, or even in the morning on top of the cabin. The sun sets right back there in the evenings though, so the last bit of sunlight we have actually reflects right off the side of Dad's camper. So with being off-grid, we have two directions to go there as well. Portable or hard-mounted, hard-fixed systems. And I've always been using the portable systems. You guys have seen me, I've featured them as we start with the small battery banks and just get larger and larger and larger. And I've really maxed out here with Opus. Opus is definitely the the largest system I've ever had. This is a 3,000 watt system. It is charging right now from the solar panel. What's it getting in? So it's getting 375 watts in right now. We've been up here 3 days already, and the solar panel's been able to balance the amount of usage we have. Well, the cabin's a bit too dark, obviously, to show you the features of the Opus. And very, very satisfied with this unit. Obviously, I'm now back at the house. But this unit, 3,000 watt, pure sine wave, of course, has multiple 12 volt outputs, has micro USB, 100 watts each, has multiple USB 2 amp, 5 volt, and then 3.0s. A lot of options there. Even has a 12 volt 30 amp output like you'd have for solar. Not exactly sure the application of that. I'm still learning quite a bit from this system. other 12 volt out. It has your car cigarette lighter, and then of course has two 5.5 millimeter pins that come in handy. AC bank, 5 20 amp max, 120 volts outlets, and then of course the big boy, 30 amp. And this is a true 30 amp. Some of the other ones I have 30 amp plugs, but only have 20 amps worth of output before they trip. This is a full 30 amp output. Also has communication buttons, so you can hook it up to your app. The thing about the app is you got to have Wi-Fi. At camp, of course, we don't have Wi-Fi, so we won't be using that feature. Now, as far as inputs go, it has the opportunity to include multiple battery banks. So this would be where you'd plug that jumper in to link these up. So just like the other large 3,000 watt units you see, you can chain these together and really get a lot higher output. I think you can get up to like 20,000 watt connected. And then over here is your input panel. And the neat thing I like about it is it has a breaker. So you can turn the breaker on and off, and that shuts down the whole system, input and output. It has the solar connector that is, and I can't remember the name of it, I'll put it right here. But it's a solar connector, a very common one that I have on multiple of these units. And of course your 110 power plug if you want to charge it with 110. That's what's crazy. This thing will charge in like an hour and a half. It's insane to be able to charge 3,000 watts in an hour and a half. Has cooling fans. Obviously it has rolling case. So you just like a piece of carry-on luggage at the airport, you can roll that, extended handle, all of those type of things that you would expect from luggage. Makes it really nice because this is stout. It's pretty heavy. I'd say it's easily 50, 60 pounds. We timed this video with their Father's Day sale they got coming up, so be sure to look in the video description below as to all the details. Got some really good incentives going on right now with this product and some of their other products. Be sure to check that out. I'll put all the links down there, all the links that apply to that special. All right, let's get back to work. We actually have a cable here, so it's wired directly to our breaker box. So it's a 30 amp plug going into the breaker box. Yes, I have the cover off the breaker box. I know that's not safe. But we have, what do we have? 1, 2, 3 breakers hooked up right now. So we're just running our outlets. But the whole cabin, I've featured this before in the video, whole cabin's wired now. We just got to start tying everything in. Well, the biggest draw we have right now on the Opus is our freezer-fridge combo. So this unit right now is what we have the biggest draw on. And it is 12 volt with a 110 converter in a loose plug. So 110 converter to 12 volt to run that. So with these half measure steps, so the portable unit hardwiring the cabin as if it were grid tied, but using these portable systems, we're going from 12 volt or 110 output, it does both of course, to 12 volt to power everything, but a lot of things I have in place need to go back to 12 volt, just like the fridge here. It has its own inverter in. Well, here's another example. We've got our water pump that pumps out of our 35 gallon or 5 gallon jugs, depending on which one we want, to run water here. And have to have a whole nother portable system that can handle this plug. So when we plug that in, then we get, that's the other issue, the pin, these pin sizes are off just a little bit. So then we get running water. So with that, I have to have a unit here and have to turn it on and off. So that's been a pain, but that's a 12 volt pump using a standalone portable power station. So I'm going to fix that here in this video. I'm going to put together something that's kind of a standalone inverter that's going to allow us to run our main system. So I'd like to try to get everything concentrated over into this corner so the Opus can take care of everything we need it to do. Eventually be running lights, fans, whatever we need. And that's what I like about the Opus systems as well, is they're stackable. So we've got that 3,000 watt unit. We could actually put another one on there. They stack on top of one another and tie them in, so we could go to 6,000 watts. More solar panel. That's the thing. If I had more panels and getting more sun, then that 3,000 watt would suffice, would be all we'd need to run this entire cabin. So that's really the challenge I'm facing right now with this. And this is where I'm trying to wrap my brain around it and see what makes the most sense. I know some of you guys have been off grid for a while, and I know I could run some 12-volt wire and keep things 12 volts if I was off grid. And maybe that's what I need to do, is just plan on this being a hybrid or two complete standalone systems, that if we ever get the power company to play ball with us and they're going to bring us a power drop, then we've got the house wired for 110, no problem. But if not, and we're going to stay on our own power, then I'm trying to maximize the 12-volt opportunities there. But that's just kind of tough to wrap my brain around. That's kind of the reason why you don't see insulation and you don't see walls up here yet. I'm still trying to figure out what wires to run and how to do it before I start closing things in permanently. You can see a lot of gang switches and things open because I'm just not quite sure, haven't nailed down exactly what I want to do. But I know what I want to do is I want to eliminate the number of battery banks I need to bring up here. And I'm embarrassed to say this, and I know some of you guys use them, but I also have a CPAP machine. Hate that thing. But it keeps Kelly from not getting any sleep because I snore so badly. So I run that thing. Now that thing runs better off 12 volts because I think it has a draw of like 50 watts when it's 12 volt, but somewhere 100, 200 plus when it's 110. So ideally, it'd be nice to have it plugged into the wall and not have to worry about it, but it produces more of a draw and can run the Opus system down faster. It's one of those things, just seem to hate to waste the electricity when if I bring another battery bank, so I've got another one that I bring in and park right here and use the cigarette lighter adapter, and it runs the CPAP machine all night with no problems. So that's what I'm thinking. Is like, okay, do I keep for like the fridge here and for CPAP machine, do I start putting in outlet boxes that have cigarette lighters and they're just running 12 volt? Then I just have to have from the Opus another 12 volt output system that can handle all that. I know just enough about electrical work to be dangerous, I guess. But the thing I want to do is try to eliminate the battery packs that I'm currently using. I don't like coming up here with 3 or 4 or 5 and have to maintain all those. Because one of these has to go to our shower to run our shower pump and all those things. So I'm just constantly carrying these back and forth. So it'd be nice to be able to come up, bang, the Opus is set up here. It's running the entire cabin because it's the system we need. And then another one of the smaller packs can stay over by the outdoor composting toilet and outdoor shower. And it can stay there all the time we're here and run the pump. But one thing I definitely want to do today is get this pump on the house system. So I want it to draw its power from the Opus over there so we can eliminate taking up shelf space with this battery bank and worrying about it. And then trying to make sure we got the plug in straight and manipulating that. This is just a little marine pump. I think I got this on Amazon for $20. So it's, again, one of those little cheap concessions that I made just to see what I want, what I like. So I hate to put a lot of investment in something I may be changing. And since it's a little marine pump, it loses pressure. So I can't just leave power on it all the time because if we're lying in bed, this thing's loud. You heard how loud it was. So if we're lying in bed and this thing loses a little bit of pressure, then that thing's going to kick on, make that real loud noise, and nobody gets any sleep. So I need to make it switchable. So what I want is here at the sink, I want to be able to flip a switch, wash your hands, do all that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about the plug, trying to keep it aligned, because sometimes you're kind of doing a one-handed thing here. Just be able to flip a switch, wash your hands, turn the switch off. That way you're not keeping pressure on the pump. You're not using power when you don't want to. But yet you still have the convenience of being able to get to the water, wash your hands, have both hands free type of thing. So let me show you what I'm thinking about doing on that. So when I put this pump system in, I put I think it's a 5.5 millimeter plug on this simply because most of these battery banks, they have that plug. They have a USB, they have a USB Type-C, and then they have the cigarette lighter. But they usually only have one cigarette lighter, but they have multiple of these. This one here has two 5.5s. I think the Opus has 2 or 3. So it seemed it made more sense. Like, well, if I use cigarette lighter tying one of those things up, or you got to get the splitters and do all that kind of junk and just keep moving out and out, let's just find a way to use these pins. They're super sleek. But I got these off Amazon, really cheap things, and I think the diameter, that 5.5 millimeter is relative. It doesn't make clean contact. So it's like things just keep stacking on one another. But here we're going to keep going with this 5.5, and I've got So I think what we're going to do, and this is going to be test. This is the benefit of having exposed studs, I guess. So we're going to put a single plate here, and we're going to run Romex from our outlet, our kitchen outlet there. So we'll have 110 volt or 120 volt coming here. And as it comes in, well, this is an inverter. It's a 110 to 12 volt. And I think this is 36 watt. Yeah, 12 volt, 3 amp. So that should be able to run our pump. So that'll convert it down or invert it down to 12 volt. And then we'll put a switch there with a plug, 5.5 millimeter plug, female to be able to handle the male. So leave that plugged in full time, flip a switch when you need water, turn it off when you don't. And then what we'll have to do, if that works, and we see how the draw works, and these things were, I got 2 of them, I think. They came in a 2-pack for 20 bucks. So we'll see how those work, and if that works the way we want to, then we may put an apparatus box in here, because obviously we don't want to close this up in the wall. That would be no bueno. But that will allow us to invert back to 12 volt. And I just want to see what kind of draw that we're getting off the Opus when we do that, versus running the pump directly off another solar charger. Probably should turn off the inverter so the Opus doesn't knock the crapus out of me. Okay, so here's the plan. So we've got our inverter, we've got our switches. Again, they came 5 in a pack. And then we've got our 5.5 millimeter females. They came 5 in a pack, so we don't need those extra. I'll post a link below to all these on Amazon if you want to check them out. So our simple switch, we'll switch the hot. Here's our 5 millimeter plug with the nut, and of course even a little rubber cap. Keeps things nice and clean. And the inverter. So what we'll do, I would like to have the inverter. If we're going to close up the walls just now, I would obviously want the inverter to be in a panel box that we can access. Right now I'm just going to set it on that little 2x4. And we're just going to see how this works first before we do that. And if it works the way we like it, then of course I'll just buy a box before we close up the wall. So we're just going to drill a hole, 2 holes, and a blank single gang faceplate to mount our switch and to mount our plug. And I'll probably put the plug over top of the switch, because if you're reaching with wet hands, well, you know, we'll see. Before you break all the way through, it's a good idea to flip it over. That's going to be okay. It's really hard to do. Well, that worked great. That's just great. Hot ground and hot switch. So my dad, who's sitting here off camera, retired from the phone company 30 years. And I think electrical tape was his #1 tool. I can remember electrical tape on everything. Bicycle handlebars, bicycle seats. Any toy that needed something fastened together. We always just had a copious amount of black tape to And that was even before they came out with all the different colored electrical tape. Okay, so we're switching hot. So the way I set this up is the red coming through will actually be hot, that's switched, and the black will be the ground. So I need to just knock a little hole in here in the box. Put these guys through the bottom. This gets folded up inside. All right, so we've got our inverter in here, and now it's time to do some testing. Oh. How you like me now? All right, so that's working right now. This is a 3 amp inverter, and the pump is 3 amps. So I was just a little concerned there when it bogged down, if it would spike, or if that's including the spike of the 3 amp. But we'll keep an eye on this as we use it. Obviously, it's nice not having it enclosed in a wall or anything. I can kind of test the temperature of it, do all of that. But it's nice. Power on for water. See, the pump's getting its prime there, the pump set. But see how it does that pulse sometimes as it's dropping pressure. But now wash hands easily. Put the buckets under there. Yep. And then to keep us from being awake at night, flip that off. Okay, so let's see. I want to see how much power loss we have with the inverter. So right now, well, let's turn off the refrigerator because it's drawing right now. So now that should read double aught, yeah, and we got 354 coming in. So Kel, flip on or turn on the sink so it's running water. Get the pump to run. Yeah, flip the switch on. All right, so that's 33 watts. All right, cut that. Now, if we come over to our other battery bank, where you're going straight to 12 volt, you're not going from 110 to 12. We're going straight to 12. Let's see what it draws. That says 41. I can't imagine that straight 12 would draw more, but these battery bank systems, you never know. Okay, so same amount, maybe even less if you're going by that. So not a lot of voltage loss in the inversion from 110 back to 12 volt there at the pump. So that's good. I like that. And with that small a draw, this Opus will run everything. So now the game plan is just this balance of trying to figure out, do I do more of those? So I've got another one of those inverters. Do I do the same thing here by the bedside and maybe put a cigarette lighter adapter in it so that it reduces down and I can run my CPAP directly into that? And just keep looking for these 12 volt opportunities. The one thing we'd really like to have in here soon is a ceiling fan. So I'm looking to see what my ceiling fan options are, whether there's a low voltage 110, something that doesn't have a big motor on it but can still move some air, So you're looking at those type of things. Or is there a 12-volt ceiling fan option as well? Not really heard of anything like that. So we do have options when it comes to air movement and things. But we're playing around with this. Microwave, we have one of those, and I can run that off the generator. Let's try that on the Opus, actually. So one thing I haven't tested yet is running that Opus running the microwave with the Opus. So let's hook that up real quick. I've always heard you're not supposed to run a microwave empty. So I've got this little box of aluminum foil I think I'll toss in there, and that'll be something for it. Not really. Runs it fine. All right, let's go watch our draw. So there we go. So we're pulling 1,600 watts right now on this 3,000 watt unit. So it says I could run that microwave for a full hour. All right, so while I'm at it, one more test I want to do is the refrigerator combo here has been unplugged for a bit. So cigarette lighter into 110 inverter right here. And so both compressors are on. I hear them. Let's see what draw we're getting. All right, so 60 watts. I've seen that go as high as 70 since we've been here. So let's do the same thing. Using straight cigarette lighter to this unit. So 49. So yeah, so we'd save 20 watts at most. But that's good to know. That gives me an idea of what kind of draw we have there, because both of those compressors are on the freezer and the fridge side. And yeah, 48. So it'll drop down. Of course, it doesn't run constantly. So that really helps me identify where I want to try to go straight to 12 volt or convert, or not worry about inverting 110 to 12. But other than that, as we start to put this together and figure out, it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing, figure out what goes first, what we need for a final build, and what we need for some interim fixes. Like that pump at some point is not going to be the final build. We'll hopefully have a submergible pump in a cistern somewhere that's pulling rainwater out and filtering it, so there's not going to be a big loud 12-volt boat pump on the side of the wall here. But in the meantime, we're a long ways off from doing that since we're building all this with cash. So in the meantime, that will have to suffice, and it may suffice for years. We'll just have to see how things work out, right? And also, we'll do a video upcoming of building the solar panel dolly. Again, not ready to put up permanent panels until I get all the trees out that I want to take out. I hate to take out any more trees, but there's that fine balance. So right now, I think a solar panel dolly that will allow me to move panels around and still be as efficient as possible makes more sense. All right, well, I thank everyone for watching. I pray y'all have a great week. Take care.